We'll call the Board of Public Works meeting of December 16th to order. Number 2, approve minutes of December 2nd. Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fire. Comments, questions, corrections? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Citizens' comments. All I see is staff. So not that you're not citizens, but we'll move on. Number 4, approval of proposal for space needs study for the street division presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. In the adopted 2020 budget, there's included a funding for a space needs study for the city garage or street division operations. Over the years, those operations have changed significantly and the facilities there have not. The last major improvement on that site was in 2002 with the addition of a heated storage garage. One of our strategic plan goals is to establish priorities for our public facilities for long-range capital planning, and a space needs study would be the first step in identifying those future needs. Dean and I met with 2 firms, explained our needs, and solicited proposals from those firms that had experience in municipal garage design. One firm chose not to respond, but the responding firm does specialize in this area and has done several similar projects for both county and city garage facilities. So in your agenda packet was a proposal from Barrientos Design and Consulting. The proposal is broken down into 2 tasks. Excuse me. The first is essentially the space needs assessment, identifying what the needs will be going forward, both for vehicle storage, for staff accommodations, office space, and other priorities. The second part of the proposal is to consider conceptual layouts that could meet those needs. And the initial focus is on solutions at the current site as a means of comparison and looking at what could we do with the property that we have there. I know there's been talk over the years about relocating that city garage to a new site. If we get this proposal in and decide that none of those solutions at the current site are viable or worth pursuing, then we could certainly take the next step and look at other sites for this facility. We felt, though, it was financially prudent to look at options on the current site before looking too far beyond that. The consultant that we're proposing has recently completed similar projects for the city of Wausau, also Marathon County and Taylor County. So at this time, staff is recommending approval of the proposal of Barrientos Design and Consulting for space needs planning and conceptual design for the city street department, and authorize staff to accept that proposal.
And what was that amount, Dan?
It was 24,000, just short of 25,000, 24,059.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Jockek, second by Mr. Fire. Questions? Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea, and I support a study like this, but I think it would be helpful to not lock ourselves into it having to be at the current site. So I just want to make that known tonight. I think we need to have a long-range plan beyond just the current issues. I mean, when I took a tour with Dean, there's obviously space issues. Like, I could see that. So I don't know. I mean, I agree we need a study, but I don't think it takes someone telling us that we need it. I can walk around and say, okay, there's a space issue. So I'm all for the study, but I just think long-range plan. We've spent a lot of money as a city on that 2nd Street corridor with Wenzel Plaza, with other potential developments. I really think we need to not lock ourselves in to it having to be at the current site. And so I don't know if we need to amend it or not, but I really want to stress that there has to be a long-range vision of the future, and does it fit in its current site or not?
Maybe, I don't know if this is possible, Dan, but could we ask, along with the space needs, what it would take, how much land we would need, and what type of buildings would we need if we went somewhere else?
We certainly could. It's not part of the scope right now, but I certainly could ask them to modify the scope to look at what would a new site look like, and generically speaking, and then put a cost estimate to that, similar to what we did with the police department study. We looked at options on the site, and we looked at a generic cost for a new site.
Mr. Fisher, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think we need to look at, I'm all for the study, and I want to make sure that is, everyone is hearing me. I'm for the study. There is, I believe, a space needs issue, but we need to look at overall acreage. We need to look at what do we need, not just 10 years from now, 50 years from now. Where is the city of Marshfield going, and what do we need? And I really would like to see that in this plan. To what level, I'm going to trust the staff to decide that, but I really feel that the firm doing this needs to look at other possible alternatives beyond this current site.
Mr. Bargender.
Thank you. Earlier today, I received a call from a well-known developer of downtown properties here in Marshfield. And that person had saw on the agenda that we were going to conduct a study and spend $24,000. That person told me that they are in the process of coming up with a plan that would include the Second Street corridor. It would also include the property where the current city garage is on. She couldn't give me details, but she was very adamant in saying that the plan they have would greatly enhance the downtown and make Marshfield a focal point in the state of Wisconsin. So I had told her that she should contact Josh Miller and have him come down to speak about this project. He could maybe enlighten us a little bit more. So I would like to just delay this tonight and see in the next couple of weeks if she comes up or that person comes up with, gives us more details or works with Josh on it. So I would make a motion to delay the space needs assessment for the city street department until we hear more from this developer.
Could you, Mr. Bargender, withdraw your motion for the time being?
I would.
I got an idea that we may be to do something else. Mr. Fire.
Yeah, this is not a new concept. Tom and I have been on for 20 years, and we've talked about this corridor for 20 years. And I think if you look at some of the comp plans and some of the downtown advancement, it's been mentioned 2-3 times. There's 3 or 4 studies in the offices. So there's things about what they want to do or could do with that corridor. I do see the reason to do this, and I think we shouldn't delay it. So we should know where we're at so we can put it in a long range plan. Not the more you delay it, the longer it is. And
Would you agree, seeing how I mentioned that to Dan, that maybe we could also look at what it would cost for off-site development somewhere? That would take a little bit of time to, not as quick as this maybe, because there's some more details. That's where Mr. Bargender, I was talking about, we could take care of that. Is that a fair statement, Dan? To amend that and ask for that information?
We could do that. I would, if we want to amend the scope of the work of the consultant, then I would ask that we delay the whole thing and just get an updated scope of
Yes.
them and bring it back at a future meeting in January.
All right, Mr. Jockett.
I was just gonna, I'm on, suggest maybe an acreage of what would be a typical, given the size and the equipment that we have, you know, just to get an idea of what kind of property we would be looking for. You know, is it 10 acres? Is it 5 acres? Is it 2? Irregardless of the buildings, and just to see, to start there anyway, rather than go through a whole concept of a cost of, you know, constructing a totally new facility. You know, just to start there, continue on. I think we need the information. I don't know that the city, in my estimation, the city is probably going to have a difficult time in the next, for at least 5 to 10 years, coming up with the dollars we're going to need for a police department and a city garage. that is somewhat centrally located, not way on the south side, because that's probably where we're going to find the property without annexing in. And we need the space now, from what I understand. So I think we should be moving forward with this.
I think, personally, I think it's important to know what the difference in cost is going to be. If we go on site, you know, what type of buildings are we going to have to put up? How much money we're going to spend on the current site versus what it would be on a new site. That's where I'm at. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. I would like to go back to what Alderman Bargander mentioned. I think maybe delaying this to a meeting in January would be a good idea, with getting a better idea of if we were to ask this contractor to possibly look at other sites, we get a better idea of what that cost would be, what that would look like, give staff more time to do their work too. So I'd like to go back and make a motion that we delay this until one of the January meetings.
I have a motion by Mr. Fisher to delay this until January 2nd. Mr. Bargander, comments or questions? So okay, go ahead, Dean, if you would go up to the podium, please.
Just one thing I just wanted to add with the space needs study. So a lot of times, like with your fire departments and police departments, this gentleman would come in and he would look at how many, vehicles we have here on site. He would look at the staff that we have. So a lot of the stuff he does, because there's standards out there in public works, he would look at what we actually have here at our current facility right now for vehicles, people, equipment, what functions our maintenance department does. With that, then he goes back and with what the standards are in the industry, he looks at what space we would need. So you would have an idea of what footprint of buildings you would need and acreage by going through with the study. I'm not saying, we need to approve it tonight or not. I just wanted to clear up that this study would give you those numbers you're looking for on how big of a building you would need, facility you would need, maintenance area, what you would need for your staff that you have on currently here, for their accommodations for locker rooms, bathrooms. So it's a lot like, when you do like a fire department, you have this many people, they have this many trucks. They tell you what size fire department you should have. This really would be the same thing.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Jockett.
So what you're saying, Dean, is that we're going to get the information that my colleagues here are asking for.
Right. The information.
Making a decision whether we continue with the current site or.
Correct. If I'm not misspeaking, Dan, they're going to look at the site. So you're going to know what you're going to need for buildings and footprint, which will give you an idea what you're going to need for acreage. Then you can look to see if it would fit on that site or if you have to go off site. So I feel it would give you the better numbers that you want.
Okay, Mr. Connect.
I think Dean is right, but I would like to just verify with the consultant that we would get what you're asking for out of this. It's not spelled out quite that way in the proposal, but Dean is right. In order for them to know what we need at our current site, they would look at the big picture, what our future needs are in total, and then he'd try to figure out how to make it happen on our current site. I would just like to confirm that with him before we have you approve this. So if we delay this to January, and it would likely be the second meeting in January because would be Monday, January 6th would be our next meeting, and I don't think I'll have that information from him over the holidays. So we'd be looking at Monday, January 20th to bring this back to you. I don't think it'll delay us. With Dean's announcement, I was planning to not start this until we have a new street superintendent in place. So that it's likely that we would be starting this in March sometime then. So if we move this approval to January, it shouldn't affect our schedule.
Anybody else want to speak before we vote? We'll be voting on delaying it until January.
So the your motion is to delay it to a January meeting?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
All in favor of delaying it till a meeting in January, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And the first motion...
Well, the motion will still stand. That'll be what's on the agenda.
Right. So it was basically an amendment. Yep. Okay. All right. Very good. I went dead. Oh, we can look here. Okay, number 5. approval of request for proposals for engineering services, if I can talk, at Mannville Lift Station replacement, presented by Sam Ward, wastewater superintendent. Sam.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm here tonight. We'd like to start the engineering services for the Mannville Lift Station. For some of you that don't know, if you were heading out Highway 13 towards Spencer, the last set of stoplights, just on the north side, there's a little lift station there. We had one very similar to that on 8th Street, on 8th and Hawthorne. We replaced that in 2016. They're very similar stations. It's in need of replacement, and it's going to be pretty much the same type of setup. The one out at Mannville does not have any type of backup. So anytime there's a power failure, we have to send a crew out there with a generator. This new one would have a generator on site. We would also go to a wet well, dry well style. That way we get rid of the confined space entry issue that we have every week. So it's going to be a much safer, newer. It's going to be in the same format as the 8th Street lift station. We want to do the engineering in 2020, get everything lined up, so then in 2021 we can go out for bids. So I would recommend approval of the request for proposal for engineering services for the Mannville Lift Station.
I have a motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fire. I can, in my younger days, I can attest to, because I lived in some of those stations that he's talking about.
Not too big wrong.
And it's due. So, any questions or comments? Mr. Bargender.
I do have a comment. I do own a property on Hawthorne and near Hawthorne and 8th, and I watched that project being done. It's a very clean, neat, professional-looking lift station. It was really badly needed down there. We were getting flooded out, and if it's what you're doing out there on Highway 13 is the same, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Sam, would that be, I know at the 8th Street you have a natural gas generator. Would you be looking for the same out there then?
Yes, that's
Okay.
just...
which is a good thing as well.
The time you lose natural gas is very rare to begin with, and in the middle of summer, it's even less rare.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Jockett.
Should be 20.
Thank you.
Okay, so note that it's a 2020 budget then on the motion. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Number 6, consideration of revisions to section 147216B of the Municipal Code related to sewer service charges for holding tank waste, portable toilet waste, and septic tank waste, and the city fee schedule, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. This is more of a housekeeping item. About a year ago, we added the sewer service charges to the fee schedule, which included not only the user charges, but these portable and toilet tank, holding tank waste fees. And then we did an ordinance change to remove the user fees from the municipal code. However, we missed these few that were in section 1472. The fees were actually in 2 different sections of the code. And so this is simply removing those fees from 1472 of the municipal code. They've already been added to the fee schedule, so at this point they're kind of doubled up. So this is just to amend the code and remove those fee schedules. And in its place, the language will be referring to the municipal fee schedule, which is established by the Common Council. So I'd recommend approval of ordinance 1424 and refer to the Common Council for consideration. But this won't be going to the council till January. We do have a council meeting tomorrow night, but we're not going to try to scramble to get this on that agenda tomorrow night.
Was that a motion, Mr. Judge? Do I have a second? Mr. Bargender, comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 7, approval to solicit bids for 2020 Sanitary Sewer Lining Program, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works.
Yes, thank you.
Dan.
Tom had a brief memo in the packet describing our intentions with the sanitary sewer lining contract. As he mentioned, We try to double up dollars in consecutive years. So the funding that we have for this current bid is comprising 2019 dollars as well as 2020 dollars. So we have a budget amount of funding to work with of $1,233,984. With that, we're anticipating we can get over 40,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer lined. And then we will have about 33% of our sanitary sewer system completed with the lining process. Tom also included a summary of some of the benefits we've seen from the lining process. I won't go through that detail, but it does provide a good history of all that we've been able to do through this lining process. But tonight, we're simply asking for your approval to solicit bids for the 2020 sanitary sewer lining in an amount not to exceed the $1,233,984.
Motion by Mr. Bargender, second by Mr. Fire. Questions? Mr. Jacque.
Of our sewer lining, how many miles or feet are we looking at doing? I mean, we're the 40,000 for this year, but in the future, how long is this process? Are we trying to get to 100% over the next 50 years, or are enough of the pipe? How much longer is this are we gonna need to do this?
When we finish this particular lining project, we don't line 6-inch because it's not feasible. But when we finish this one, almost all the 18-inch and smaller in the city of Marshfield will be either lined PVC, or we do have a little bit of clay tile yet, but we'll have gotten rid of all the old concrete and a lot of the ductile iron, the cast iron, truss pipe, some of that other stuff. So we're getting to the point where there's going to be only about 15% of the city that is not either plastic or lined. So will we ever get to 100%? Probably not, because your really big pipe, and Tim can speak for this, your really big pipe, concrete's your best bet. So
And you don't line concrete?
you can, it's at some point you can, but bigger
not looking
pipe
at
like
doing
that likes to float out of the ground, so you need the weight of the concrete to keep it in there. So once you put the concrete in, if it starts to deteriorate, you can line any size concrete pipe. But
So we're getting close to being done with our sewer lining.
we're getting there. It's only maybe 1 or 2 more lining projects and we'll be done.
Mr. Bargender.
Thank you.
For Sam, once a pipe is lined, how long does that extend the life of that pipe?
The salesman will tell you forever. The reality is, just like anything, a lot of people, I know Tom in his memo puts 75, that's probably conservative because I think it'll go a lot longer than that. We've been lining since 1998. There's been other communities lining before that. So, and we're actually, this particular project, we're going to a thicker liner, which they developed and they found it'll last even longer yet. So generally the contractors, the engineers will tell you about 125 years you should plan for.
I think I mentioned it before, Sam, maybe in the middle of winter, that would be a good one to come and show a video of the process, because it's really neat. It basically, the liner is protected by the old pipe as well. So that's the best of both worlds.
It's like double strong.
Yes. Anybody else? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sam. 8. Discussion of recent snow plowing operations and current street conditions, requested by Alderman Jacque. Go to it, Mr. Jacque.
All right, I'm gonna start this, and I generally, I think you all recognized over the years, I do not like to criticize staff. But the roads over the last few years, during the winter, have not been what I remember before. I drive on, and I understand every road is different, but the few snowstorms we've had so far, I've gotten some complaints. I generally have my own complaints of the conditions of the road. It's harder to stop on intersections.
Chris, do you have your mic?
Harder to get going. What? No. Harder to get going without spinning. Coming home a couple weeks ago on 97, it was dry. As soon as I hit the city, I watched someone try and spin out of turning on 97 from Menards, and I had difficulty stopping. And I guess I think the citizens are owed an explanation in the winter. I think we talk about this in the summer. We've talked about the changes in the snow plowing operation and how we're doing it. And that often is during the summer or the fall. And I think I'd like to see some an explanation. I mean, I understand it's winter driving, and that's different than summer driving. I understand we've changed from salt or salt sand to a brine and doing a pre-application. But I'm not sure that I would say that is better for driving. I requested this at the council meeting last Tuesday. I got a call that evening of a citizen complaining his daughter got rear-ended, and he saw 3 accidents in intersections on his way home. So I just would like to hear, I think the citizens would like to hear what we are doing, what is different, and whether you guys think it's been effective. McMillan, I understand McMillan Hill, I was told, was closed last Tuesday. And I think especially the area around the clinic with the volume of cars we have there, maybe we need to concentrate on that. The other thing, one of the impetuses for my questioning this is I drive on North St. Joseph's almost every day going to work to Stratford. And this year there were windrows on North St. Joseph's north of Arnold. And last year, I don't remember seeing any of them. None, even when we had those heavy snowstorms. So I was a little surprised to see how that was done on, I think it was Wednesday morning before Thanksgiving. And I thought, well, okay, it'll be gone by the evening. It was still there Wednesday. It was still there Friday. It's still there Friday night.
Let's let Chris, he's prepared to talk about that, and then I'll come back to you, Chris.
I just wanted to
Yep,
try and air this out.
You'll have an opportunity to go
Sure.
right ahead.
So I'm here tonight to kind of talk about what happened last week, and we got Dean and Kurt here to talk about some other things too.
Right,
But
right.
just to kind of explain to you guys, because I know you received a lot of calls. Our office received a lot of calls, and the mayor received a lot of calls about last week, and then just kind of give you a synopsis of what we were dealing with starting last Monday morning. So Monday morning, today started out 32 degrees. We had heavy fog and mist. Roads kind of started to glaze over, so we sent the salter trucks out immediately, and we got some salt downs to deal with that. That heavy fog and mist right before noon turned to rain, and then right at noon, heavy wet snow came down at a pretty good rate. We started our plow operations then about 1:30 in the afternoon. And what was happening is we were plowing it off, and it was glazing right over the top of it. So by 3 o'clock, traffic picked up, started bonding all of that, the snow and formed that ice on the road. In the meantime, from Monday morning to Monday evening, the temperatures were plummeting. We went from 32 at 7 o'clock in the morning to 15 degrees when we left at 8 o'clock at night. Throughout the night, the next morning we get here, and we had salt down, and the roads were wet. By the time we got in Tuesday morning, roads were actually not looking too bad. The sun came up, blazed the roads over again. So then we spent all day, we had the hard pack on the road. So now we're working from the top down, which is very difficult if you talk to any municipalities. Once you get hard pack on the road, you try and remove it from the top down, it's pretty difficult. So we had them out all day, trying to loosen up the roads. By 2, 3 o'clock, they were getting wet again. 3 o'clock comes around, sun starts to go down, gets shady, they start to glaze over again. So at that time, we switched over to salt sand. It's a temporary traction thing. What happens, it works for a little bit, the traffic blows it off. And then throughout the evening, we had our 2 guys. We have a guy in from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night. And then we have a night guy out from 9 at night till 7 in the morning, hitting all the trouble spots. By Wednesday morning, we get up, it's 8 below zero outside now. Nothing's really working real well. So we had the salt sanders out again all day on Wednesday. We still have the hard pack, of course, because now it's too cold out for salt to work. And we're just trying to get the traffic going back and forth, safely. But it was pretty hard packed by then. Thursday morning, we could see that we had a storm coming in. Temperatures start to come up now. We anticipate that. We get some salt down. Then we go out. It starts snowing. We start plowing. We did 2 rounds of plowing on Thursday. And finally now, since Monday, the hard pack starts to come up. So just to let you know, that was the synopsis. And I know everybody had complaints from Monday through Wednesday. What we were dealing with was the cold temperatures and salt basically not working. So that's, I know a lot of people had questions about that, and that's where we were at on that.
Okay, Mr. Buttke, did you want to continue?
No, that's the explanation that I understand it. No, the hard pack, the traffic, and the temperature. I get that. But in general, is the brine, do you think the brine solution is that effective in what you're trying to do? Do you think that has something to do with the conditions?
Oh, well, yeah.
Now we have some experience of over the years.
Sure.
And
so on Monday, what had happened was once we actually went out with the first initial application and we'd switch over to the rain right before the snow, it pretty much diluted what we had down already. We had started out from scratch,
So the brine was diluted?
Yes.
So it was not effective at all?
Not effective, yeah. So, yeah.
Would you say that that the brine, that whole concept, that's a relatively new concept in this area, isn't it?
Actually, the state
we've
has
had it
been
for how
doing
many
studies on it since 1995. And there's counties out there that are going to brine only for that type of removal processes rather than putting salt down. So the brine works great if you have the right conditions to do that. But
Right,
if it's cold out like it has been,
then you're not doing it.
right.
And there's nothing you can really do then.
Right.
We haven't discovered a better salt solution, or
Salt,
we
sand,
don't. I haven't even noticed. I walk around Fifth Street. I haven't even noticed the salt and sands being put down like it used to be. I used to have to wipe my dog's feet off all the time, and it's nice that I don't have to do that. But at the same time, I watch cars slide through, and I'm not sure. I'm certainly, my dogs don't take priority over a car.
Mr. Bartender.
I agree with the street department. It was a very couple unusual snow events, but I gotta agree with Chris Buttke here too. I think we have to, if temperatures drop below zero, we know that salt is not effective. So we really need to make a concerted effort to get some sand down on these ice glazed intersections. I had a call too. Guy flew through intersection, narrowly missed this person. Guy turns around, looks, well, yeah, it's all glazed over. And I know sand does get wiped off by the people spinning and sliding, but I just think that, especially like Chris had mentioned here, areas around the medical center campus, the schools, senior high, or the high school, I should say, I'm dating myself here, and the other schools really need an extra effort put down to get some sand down. I know sand is messy, we got to clean it up in the spring, but I don't see any alternative to make our streets safer for our motorists. So I think the sand, if we get these unusual snow events, I think we need to get out there and get more sand on those intersections at least. Thank you.
Anybody else? Chris, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, we did have, after Tuesday night that we switched to salt sand specifically, and we were scrambling, just hitting trouble spots everywhere to let you guys know. And yeah, we were out there, but sometimes you don't see us right away. So we were at that point, we were more in a reactive role than a proactive role.
Anybody? Mr. Jockett?
Go back to the situation on North St. Joe's with the snow being plowed to the center. As I recall, last year, that was not done at all. This year, I've seen it now twice.
No, we've always put St. Joe's.
I know, but
Yeah.
last year, we were able to get it away. I think we made a concerted effort because there was concern about that. And I think we changed the operational part of our snow plowing to not do the lesser driven streets and cul-de-sacs in favor of getting that off. So I was really surprised when I went to work that day after a snowstorm, that there it was. And what that meant was for 3 days, there was that line, but those lanes were down to one lane, not two, because it was still there. And I just want to make sure that we address that a little bit better if we can. I don't know why last year we were able to do it this year. And then how's the parking lot? We changed, you're doing more parking lots. How is that going after 3 or 4 snowstorms?
Chris, I'd let you respond to that, but I'm going to think the answer to that is that you were out there for all the ice and stuff on the road, so you were concentrating.
This was
on
the
that.
week before, so.
Oh, the week before you're talking about?
So
Okay.
I'm gonna have Kurt come up here and explain
Okay.
that. I was
All right.
actually
All right.
off on the national holiday vacation of deer hunting, so.
Any success?
Yes.
Yeah, that Wednesday, we went out at 2:00 in the morning. We started getting that heavy wet snow about midnight. The crew was out at 2:00 in the morning. We had to plow twice that day. Thursday was a holiday, and then Friday is also a holiday, paid holiday for the crew. So we finished up about 3:00 in the afternoon. The crew had been out since 2:00 in the morning. That's why it sat there until Saturday, actually the following Monday. But we also got snow on Saturday and Sunday. That's why it sat there as long as it did.
Mr. Bargander.
Just one more thing I wanted to bring up about plowing. I use the post office almost every day, and I'm down there for many years. I've been doing that. And one of the things that I have a peeve, I guess, about is when the plows come in and they plow the snow up against the curb there on West 2nd and on Chestnut in front of the post office, it creates a huge bank that people have really struggled to get to the sidewalk. I'd really like to see the snow plowed away from the curb in that around the post office. So the people that use the post office often, and there's a lot of elderly people I see struggling to get in and out and park their cars there because the right side 2 tires are right in the snow because that snow is right against the curb. It takes sometimes a week or so before that's removed from that area. If you could address that for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, that's an area where we actually pick that up, usually by the next night. What happens is the sidewalk is tight up against the curb. We go through and we push the snow out into those parking stalls. And typically, on a normal snow event, if we're done at 4:00 in the afternoon or 5:00, then we usually have the crew come in at midnight or 2:00 in the morning. And that's when we go through and we pick up all the downtown area around Weinberner's Shoes and around the post office. We pull all of that snow that got deposited there the day before. We bring it out and we pick it up with the big snow blower. So,
Anybody else? Mr. Fire.
I want to go on a positive end. I'd like to congratulate you guys for doing a great job. I understand that this is not perfect. Problem is, Marshfield's been spoiled through the years, and the storms seem to be getting uglier, and this might be a bad year. I just talked to my son. My son lives in St. Francis. He has a street. He's a block off of Kitticanek on Waterford, and they don't get plowed for 3 days. You don't call the Public Works and say, I want my street clean, because it's not going to happen, because they have all the other streets. So Wausau's got a problem. Rapids, I was down in Rapids when we had the bad storm it started raining and foggy on Monday, and I got stuck down there coming back. It was really just getting out of Rapids. And I didn't see anybody down there moving anything, but the roads were really slick. So I guess I just say, I think you guys are doing a good job with what you got. And I guess if they want more, we'll just have to increase the budget, put more people on, and everybody happy. Remember, budget goes up. Well, no, you won't.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
That's my.
I just want to make one more comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks for that, but, and I'll tell you what, there isn't anybody that felt worse about the road conditions last week than ourselves and the guys in the crew. We tried everything to break up that hard pack, and the weather conditions just weren't cooperating, and actually we were never happier to see the snow and the temperature rise up on Thursday to get out there and peel it all off, so, thank you.
Anybody else?
And the
Mr.
road
Jockey.
conditions, the road conditions are great. Obviously, with the change in the temperature and your crew, driving now is great. But the number of calls, we just had to see it addressed. And I appreciate you coming here tonight and giving an explanation. That's what I was looking for, so.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Number 9, recommended items for future agendas. Mr. Bargender.
I'd like to, kind of piggybacking on what I said about the post office there, in the future, we're going to be, we have acquired, but we would take possession of the Baltus property. I'd like to see if Public Works can work with the postmaster there and see if we can get a couple drive-up mail receptacles on the corner of the Baltus, or former Baltus property there. I think it would be really helpful for a lot of elderly people there, especially now with the snow and ice. They're struggling to get out in the car and put their Christmas cards or whatever in that one single receptacle. Over the years, we had those receptacles in the municipal parking lot across from the post office. It was a great thing. They were very heavily used, okay? So it's just something we'd just like to explore the idea, see if it's feasible. And I think the public would be very appreciative of. Thank you.
Anybody else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. Jockek. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are adjourned.